Hi. Hello and welcome to Knock Knock Hi with the Glaucomfleckens. I am Will Flannery, also known as Dr. Glaucomflecken.
I am Kristen Flannery, also known as Lady Glaucomflecken.
And we are talking about something that's just going to make you smile.
Hilarious.
And just be happy. We're talking about medical debt. Medical
Yay!
debt. We have a fascinating guest, a very accomplished, amazing person who's the president and CEO of RIP Medical Debt. I'm sure a lot of you have probably heard about this organization, which is just buying up all the billions of dollars of medical debt and just writing it out, like for just using donations to pay off the debt. And so the patients don't have to do it. It just doing unbelievable work. So we're talking to Allison Sesso. She is the president and CEO of RIP Medical Debt. We have some experience with medical billing.
Well, we sure do. Medical debt.
Yeah, whenever I got when I had my cardiac arrest and got home from the hospital, we started to get all the medical bills.
Mm-hmm. Yeah. Oh, wasn't that fun?
They just keep coming, and it's you don't know which ones you paid, which ones you haven't. Which direction they're coming for, which hospital, which ambulance, there's only one ambulance.
Imaging
but
company.
Which companies, they just come from everywhere.
All over the place.
And it's so confusing.
Yep.
Then you get the explanation of benefits.
Right? Which is not a bill, but looks like a bill.
It says not a bill.
It says not a bill.
It does look like a bill, though.
Yes.
And you get it like 8 times.
Yeah.
They keep sending it to you.
I don't know why that happens.
I don't know.
Are they making adjustments?
Our recycling bin was full for quite a while after that.
I filed those, but sure.
Oh, not all of them. Not the ones I got to.
Oh, boy.
I just shredded those things. And
oh, boy.
Yeah, I'm not.
Now you tell me.
I'm not the best record keeper, but it was. I had a lot of surprise billing, and that's something we. I don't think we touched on it too much.
We kind of mentioned it, but yeah.
Yeah, surprise billing is. We talked about it in the context of the No Surprises Act, which was a piece of legislation that went into effect January of 2022, I believe, that outlawed the practice of surprise billing. So what happened to me?
Which was in May of 2020, so prior to
prior to the act being passed, when I had the cardiac arrest, the ambulance took me to an in-network hospital.
Yeah, that was nice of them.
Very nice. But some of the doctors in that hospital were out of network.
Right.
Because I didn't check before I died.
Right. That was pretty irresponsible of you, honestly.
Big mistake.
Yep.
And so I got like tens of thousands of dollars of charges that insurance nope, sorry, out of network, can't cover it. And I was like, oh, I was unconscious. What was I going to do?
Right.
And so it was like a 9-month process to eventually get them to, forgive the debt, or I don't know what they did, but
yes. Well, and at the same time that you were experiencing that issue, we were also working on, I was having a medical billing issue where about 4 months before your cardiac arrest, I had had a cervical disc replacement, and I had done my due diligence to make sure, got all the prior authorizations, make sure it was all good to go with the insurance company before we had the surgery. Because I, unlike you, was not unconscious. I had time to prepare. Right. So went through all the cross the T's and dot the I's, and then turned out when I, got the bill, the insurance company said they were going to pay for exactly $0 of that surgery.
It's a low percentage. Yeah, that was a problem.
So we were doing both those bills at the same time. It was pretty stressful.
Yeah, it was bad, and it was stressful and confusing for us. And I kind of know my way around the healthcare.
Right. You're on the inside.
I'm on the inside part of it.
Not the billing part, though.
But still, it was a little bit easier, I feel like, for me compared to someone who's not in medicine at all and is just experiencing this for the first time, So, and it's just awful what we put people through. And so it was great to talk to Allison about just something that's being done to help, and we talked about, that forgiving the debt and paying off the debt is great, but also a lot of other work needs to be done to fix the things that's leading to all this debt. And so
That's
Yeah.
kind of a Band-Aid
Yeah.
for this broader issue, but it is a really
Very effective
awesome
Band-Aid.
Band-Aid. Yeah.
Yeah. So they're up over $9 billion now of medical debt that they have paid off, and
Yeah.
just millions and millions of people that have benefited. So
Yeah. A really interesting model too that they use to do that. So
great work.
definitely
So
stick around, check
we're
it out.
excited for you to hear this interview, and so let's get to it. Here is Allison Sesso. All right, we are here with Allison Sesso, the President and CEO of RIP Medical Debt. We're so excited to have you on. Thank you for being here.
I am thrilled to be here. Thank you so much for having me.
Yeah, and we're talking about it's just quite an uplifting topic today. Medical debt.
It's hilarious.
Yeah, but it's also such an important one, and something that for the past year and a half, I've been talking a lot about is just the healthcare and healthcare system, insurance industry, everything. So this is I think a lot of people will be very interested in this topic. And so I first off just want to ask you if you could just give us a scope of the problem of just medical debt in general. Just put it into context for people. What are we talking about here?
Yeah, well, in the United States, over 100 million people have medical debt, so it's pretty substantial, and to the tune of at least $195 billion of medical debt. So it is a big problem in the United States of America.
I can't even fathom that number.
Yeah.
That's
actually
too
big.
I didn't realize it was that much, because I saw on because you're on Twitter. That's I've seen your Twitter account and kind of followed some of the.
I believe you mean X.
Oh, sorry. Oh my gosh, X, the X account. That's right. It's no longer Twitter.
That's right.
I can't keep up. And I just saw, it was about a month ago, RIP Medical Debt just passed by the $9 billion mark.
Yeah.
And my initial reaction was, oh, okay, well, that's got to be all the medical debt, right? That's it. How much more could there possibly be?
Yeah, it's really it's a small dent, I feel like, in a large problem. But for those people that we're helping, I think it's really a significant dent that they need to have happen. But yeah, I think we're going to hit 10 billion next month.
Oh my gosh!
Wow.
So it's just kind of exponentially growing in terms of the exposure and people learning about what you do. And I want to get into the process for how RIP Medical Debt works, because it's totally unique. It's very interesting. First, how did you get into this position? I'd like to hear kind of a little bit more about your background.
Yeah, sure. I'm happy to talk about it. So I'm a Queens girl. I'm from Queens, New York. That's where I'm calling in from right now. I did a lot of my work working in social services in New York City. So I actually represented social service providers, about 200 of them that provide various social services, everything from the homeless, to feeding the homeless, to housing the homeless, to providing aftercare for kids, helping seniors, all those good things. But a lot of social services are really cleaning up the mess of broken social programs or social situation systems. And so I was there for a long time, and it was sort of time for me to find something new. And this thing came across my desk that this group, RIP Medical Debt, was looking for, a new head. And I thought, what is that? Because medical debt is an issue that is obviously an economic issue, but it's also clearly a broken healthcare financing issue. And it's sort of the same people that I'm helping, if you will, right? Like if I was
Right.
representing these people that are getting social programs and getting a lot of help through social programs, medical debt is an issue that they're dealing with. But what I thought was so cool was the return on investment. I mean, $1 gets rid of $100 of medical debt in this model. And so I had a conversation with the headhunter and learned a
Mhm.
little bit more about the history. And it was a very new organization. We're not even 10 years old. I came here about 4 years ago. They were at the time looking to abolish about $1 billion of medical debt, was like their big audacious goal. And now we're, close to 10. And so I looked at the organization, I looked at the opportunity, and I thought, this is another way I could spend my time and my energy, and it's national in scale, and I can say something about this issue in the process. Like, I'm not just going to relieve medical debt. I'm going to scream from the rooftops, like, I shouldn't have a job relieving medical debt. We shouldn't have this problem in the country. Like,
Right.
while
Right.
I'm doing it, because I'm really a policy wonk at heart. And a lot of the work I did for social services was not like I wasn't delivering the services. I was representing those organizations and lobbying government really hard to try to give them better resources to do their jobs better and like raising those issues effectively. And so I thought I could do the same thing here. And it turns out we can.
Yeah.
So you mentioned that every $1 contributed gets rid of $100 of medical debt. And to just me as a general layperson, that sounds like monopoly math. So can you tell me how that works exactly?
It doesn't sound like it should. Doesn't sound like it should
Yeah,
make sense, right?
I know. And it's why everyone's like, are you for real? You're a scam. Like it's a whole like mountain we have to climb constantly. Yeah. So I mean, it took, I'll be honest, when I took the shop, I didn't understand it either. I was like, what? How does that happen? And so I get
Yeah.
it, but I've become good at, I think, explaining it, but you'll tell me right now. So basically, there is a market for medical debt. Like it exists. And not only for medical debt, by the way, for other kinds of debts. The United States of America, everything's a commodity in one shape or form, right? So medical debt is no different. And there are for profit debt buyers that will go to a hospital or other healthcare provider and take all their bad debt and say, and name a price to buy it all. But in order for that to be profitable, the price they pay has got to be dirt cheap because the people that are owing the debt that they would collect from don't have the money. It's like getting blood from a stone, right? So they don't have the money. So they make the price super low, literally pennies on the dollar to make it profitable and worthwhile. So they basically make it a dirt cheap offer, but to the provider who's already probably tried to collect or made a couple of collection attempts and gotten nowhere, its value, especially in a collective amount for all the bad debt, you're getting something. It could be $1 million for $300 million worth of debt, but that's $1 million you didn't have and that you were just sitting on this bad debt. So you make the deal and you sell it. And then the debt collector's like, great, anything I make above 1 million, I have 300 million worth of attempts to try to harass people, take them to court, do whatever I got to do to get my money's worth. And so anything above 1 million is profit. And
Right.
so we take advantage of that market that it exists, except we are not trying to make any money back. We're flipping the script completely. And we're just taking donated dollars, people who
Hmm.
actually care about medical debt and want to see us succeed. And they make donations to us. And then we send letters to people and say, we bought your medical debt just like a debt buyer, but you are free and clear of the debt. And we would never, ever collect on any of the debts. Our mission is to get rid of debts, and we are for nonprofit 100%.
Right. So you buy it for cheap because there's that market and then donations cover that cheaper price and the
Correct.
and the individuals are free of it. That's awesome.
I think it's probably surprises a lot of people to hear like buying the medical debt because
Yeah.
I think a lot and I probably thought this in fact I know I thought this for quite a while just even as a physician that if things were sent to collection it was just like okay this is now I'm just giving this. I think a lot of people assume that it's just given to the collection agencies.
Right, that you're still paying the hospital back and the collection
Right.
agency is like a middleman that's facilitating.
I didn't realize for a long time that it was actually the collection agency that's purchasing the
Yeah.
debt
Well, it
itself.
depends actually. So there's not a hard and fast rule on this. A lot of hospitals, so not all hospitals do sell their debt. In fact, a minority do. Too. I want to be clear about that. But
Hmm.
there are enough hospitals that a market exists. So that's how we establish that. But there are a lot of collections agencies that do just get a percentage of what they collect and that do not own the
Oh,
debt. So then this is part of the problem, frankly. Like it's opaque to the patient. That's
right,
it's
Right.
like this is why it's so confusing. It's because there's no hard and fast rules, and you don't know who owns your debt.
Right.
right. And then another question I have is how are how do hospitals and I guess any kind of private practice or anybody that uses collection agencies and they're selling this debt for pennies on the dollar. How is that? You mentioned like okay, if it's like 300 million in debt, you're at least getting something back. But I still don't understand how hospitals can like stay afloat by just basically
By getting
getting
rid of
such a small
$299
percent.
million
Yeah,
dollars of
exactly. Just
what they're
Is it
supposedly
just
owed.
because prices are so high that I mean, how is, the financial just doesn't seem to quite make sense.
What I've learned is that hospital financials are not for the average person to understand. And that is why, honestly, like I get the pricing transparency conversations and why people want that, but you can't shop for healthcare. I mean, it's just not a reasonable thing that we expect of people. How would you know what's a reasonable price for a, gallbladder surgery or heart, I don't know, name anything. It's not reasonable to expect people to be able to shop for these things. And what I've learned is hospitals pricing is not based on like what it actually costs them. It's what they like, and that's like because that there's this middleman that pays for most of it, which is the insurance company. So it's convoluted how the pricing works at hospitals in the first place. And yes, frankly, they have to take if their accountants have to take into account the fact that they're not going to get paid anything for a lot of the care that they provide. So the higher prices are building in a loss. And that's just
I
real.
see.
And I don't think, you can expect as a first patient that goes to a hospital for your price to be based on what the hospital expenses are for your particular surgery. They're basing the price on their total costs, I think, in a lot of ways. And so that's, I think, the concept that is foreign to most people and that aren't in, a revenue cycle, which I'm
Right.
not. But I've
No, but
learned from somebody on my team who is amazing, Ruth Landay, who, like knows all this stuff. And that's why she is in charge of talking to all of the hospitals where we get the debt from, because she understands how they think and how they set prices and how the sort of system works a little bit more intuitively than your average
Yeah.
person. But that's why consumerism in healthcare just doesn't work.
It's so funny too because people think of universal healthcare or models like that. You know, that's one of the problems they have with it is they don't want to pay for other people's healthcare or whatever, but they are anyway.
Correct. They are.
Even in
And
the
also through
consumerism model.
subsidies, through our tax dollars, government subsidies for health insurance and for for all that stuff. We are paying plenty of for healthcare.
so medical debt is a marketplace. Is there a lot of competition in this marketplace?
Right.
Like, are you?
It's not like you can just like go online and find a cheaper price somewhere else, right? Like it's not
Right,
like you're going to Costco for paper towels.
are you fighting for medical debt like with other like debt collectors?
We're not. We actually do actually buy it directly from debt collectors as well. So buy both directly from hospitals and from what we call the
Okay.
secondary market, which is the the debt buyers. And the reason why we're not in competition with them, as far as I'm concerned, is because of the fact that we're a totally different business model. Like we're not trying to make money back, and we're actually focused on the low income individuals more so than anybody, which is by far the majority of people in the files. But they technically want the people that do have means, right? I mean, that's for their business model.
Hmm.
People at the high end are more attractive, while for us, like the lower end people are more attractive. So I don't see it a one to one comparison.
Hmm.
Well, I wish you could get all the medical debt and have the funds to forgive it all. But at least that's good. That I guess as long as these other organizations, they are getting the debt off their books and they're getting something back for it. That's probably all they really care about. And
I don't know if that's true. I think that in terms of the hospitals, at least, or the providers that sell it to us, honestly, they're not in it. Most of them are not in it because of the money. They do recognize that medical debt is inherently a part of the system and
hmm,
hard for them to solve individually, and they see it as a community benefit.
oh, that's good.
Yeah. Yeah, I think well, I don't know. This like you said, it's all very complicated, but I think, there's maybe different levels of roles at the hospital that care about different things. And I think certainly at the provider level, just from knowing you and other, physicians that we've met along the way through med school and just
Mm.
everything, most people get in it because they want to help people. They want to heal people. Um, so I don't know. I'm sure there's somebody somewhere who is really caring about the bottom line, but I think the majority of people in the healthcare system are trying to help people.
Absolutely. And I think what's happening is medical debt is getting in the way of people
Yes.
trusting the healthcare system. And it's
Right.
really, really a big problem that we need to pay better attention to. I will say one of the things we do when we work with hospitals is when we're done doing the medical debt relief. So we have a feedback loop We have an anthropologist on our team whose job it
Oh,
is to
cool.
talk to those who benefited.
That's great.
It's to
Yeah.
capture, right? It's like to capture, like, what are these stories? What are the common themes? We actually have a qualitative database we're building up, all this stuff so that we can understand the issue of medical debt sort of more concretely. And so she does this great thing where we create a venue of stories that of individuals with their pictures and what it meant for them to have the medical debt relieved that we give back to the hospitals or other providers. And they then share that oftentimes with their teams, like their clinicians, who are thrilled and they feel great about where they work. And so it ends up being actually like a retention tool for them.
Mm,
Oh,
that's
interesting.
interesting.
That's very cool.
Yeah, I think that actually we physicians, as we're going through education and training, we're a little bit too insulated from this world. And that's a big problem. Like I didn't really grasp a lot of like the health insurance industry and kind of what goes into billing and medical debt until I was a patient. I started to experience it myself. And then that's a big problem. And so I think, Kristen, you're right. Like we're always so focused on like we just want to treat people, help people, treat disease, all these things, but we can't separate it from the healthcare industry, and it's just becoming more complicated, and there's more problems, not just related to medical debt. Well, everything that goes into it, from claim denials and prior authorizations and all this stuff.
Well, people
'Cause
aren't
for
going to follow
patients,
up on
it's
your
not separated.
advice. I mean, they're not going to follow up on your advice, right? Because they're going to realize
Yeah.
how much it's going to cost them. I mean, if
Yep.
I've heard horror stories where the nurse is trying to like give an IV or do, somebody like in an emergency room, and they're like, wait, what is this going to cost me? I mean, I can't even imagine if someone's like in the middle of a crisis and you're trying to help them and they're resisting it because they're worried about what it's going to cost them. I mean, it's just that's not what you signed up for. Is I think your point.
Yeah,
Right.
exactly. What do you recommend that patients do when they have medical debt? Like do you have anything that you've learned through being in the position you're in, this industry? What advice would you give to a patient with medical debt?
To push back. I mean, that's the other thing. Unfortunately, it's the system is set up so that you have to like advocate for yourself and you have to push back. So if you have it that you can negotiate it down, you can find out from your insurance company if they're trying to deny it. You can, so there's just don't just pay what you owe. Like go and have a conversation with everyone you can. Your insurance company. If you didn't have insurance, like maybe you can sign up for Medicaid retroactively. It depends on where you live. Like there's
Mhm.
different things you can do. But I also hate that that's my advice, honestly. I sort of feel like it's, like, analogous to, like, "Why'd you wear that short skirt?" Like,
Yes.
right? I mean, it's sort of like, like, it's not the person's fault, and
Right.
honestly, there's also, like, racism built into that. Like, we
Yep.
know that Black people do not get the same deals when they negotiate for buying a car or anything else as
Or
white people
women.
or women exactly, and so it's inherently flawed that that's our expectation, both that
Right.
you're a consumer and that you should be negotiating. Like, it feels so disconcerting and gross. It's just not okay.
Yeah. And these are people who are in a very vulnerable position. They're very sick. They may not, they may have very limited energy. I mean, depending on what the illness is and what the debt was for. Like, to spend, their precious energy and their mental, and emotional capacity when they're already dealing with something like a disease or something. I mean, it just is,
Well, and
to me, that just feels evil.
yeah, and like stress is great for healing, right?
Yeah, exactly. Right.
It's the
Everything we
last thing
know
you need.
about how the body works and what it needs, we're doing all the wrong things for patients in this case.
Yeah.
Ugh, it's so frustrating. How can people find out what their options are? Because I think, speaking as patients ourselves, it's not like there's a handbook somewhere, right? That tells you what you can do. It feels very scary to receive a medical bill because, it just seems so official and it's hard to understand and it's complicated and there's not like an itemized list of all the things and what you're paying for them. So, how do you know where to go? Do you have resources for people to understand how they can push back?
Well, so we don't really specialize in that. And honestly, I'm not a big fan of trying to do too many things because I
Mhm.
feel like you can do, one thing really well, which is what we do.
Yeah.
and not do a bunch of things sort of half-assed, and that's not
Right.
my approach, right? So we do not, try to be too helpful with individuals on purpose, right? But there are groups like Dollar Four, which I recommend people look at, that do help people navigate financial assistance programs at hospitals and help them push back and have a lot of resources. There's like the National Consumer Law Center, which has great resources. So there's lots of organizations that provide resources to the consumer, if you will, facing patient about what their options are. It also, frankly, varies state to state. So
Yeah.
that's the other thing, but there are financial counselors. There are resources available and out there to help people. But I do have to say, you do have to look for them.
And your state health authority or your state health association can also be a big benefit. I've reached out to them on my behalf and some of my patients' behalf before. So that's another.
What are they? What can you Google to see if you're just a
oh gosh,
layperson?
I mean,
like your state health association.
Like Oregon Health Authority. Like there's always every state has like I don't know if they call it a health authority, but there's those types of resources out there.
Yeah, like Department of Health. You could
the
usually
Department of Health or whatever.
I think you could just say like Department of Health at your state, and then maybe right like
yeah,
medical
they do
debt.
have resources for sure.
Yeah.
Now you mentioned that whenever you came on, the initial goal for RIP medical debt was $1 billion. Okay, well you've achieved that goal pretty handily. So what's where are you going now? Like what's the 100 what'd you say 190 160 billion
195 billion.
195 billion.
Oof.
All right.
And
so
counting?
I guess your goal is 195 billion now, right? I mean, what is it? What's the next step here?
It's a really good question. I think at the end of the day, we are going to keep help. Yes, we've done 10 billion compared to 195 billion. That's not, that's not a lot, right?
Oh,
but it is.
No, it's amazing. I think it's amazing.
Well, it is. I was going to say.
It's
I
incredible.
think our goal is to help as many people as we can
yeah.
and just keep going. But in the process, I want to put ourselves out of business, honestly. I really want us to fundamentally, and by the way, not necessarily by getting rid of all the medical debt through our approach. I want to do it because I want there to be a better solution, bigger solution, more systemic solution to this problem that doesn't require us to be in existence. Maybe we solve it in a more fundamental way or for a lot more people, and then we, just work on what's left. Something like that would be fine. But I that's why we've sort of very intentionally invested in this anthropologist, which I mentioned, to tell the stories of the individual so that we're pointing to the system and not the individual. Like it's not a personal failure. The system is set up against you very clearly. For you to, you could do everything right and still absolutely end up in medical debt. In fact, most people do. You can't, insurance is out of reach for a lot of people. Like the premiums are too high for the plans that don't have high deductibles. So a lot of people are underinsured. That's what we're finding is that we've solved sort of the insurance problem. Like over 90% of people now finally have insurance after the ACA passed, the Obamacare, also known as. But still, a lot of people end up in medical debt because they have high deductibles. So there's a lot of things that I think are going on. So for us, we're really focused on telling those stories. We have a public policy team now whose job it is to engage. I was just in Biden's company recently because he announced some stuff about junk policies and having limits on Medicare, out-of-pocket prescriptions. And so there's all this stuff that I think is could be done to tighten up the situation that we have now. And that's what we're focused on, is really trying to tell this bigger story and make medical debt a prominent issue that people are grappling with. So the political pressure is there for bigger changes beyond us. And in the meantime, get as much medical debt gone as possible.
Couldn't agree more. I think personal narratives are so important, especially on social media, because you can have a story that goes viral and just gets the attention of people. That says, look how big this problem is, and there have been some legislative wins, like the No Surprises Act. That was a pretty big deal that went into effect last year, and I know the FTC is really starting to look at these vertically integrated health insurance companies and some of the practices. And so, but I totally agree with you. I think just getting stories out there and just reaching more of the public, making them aware, does put pressure on some of these companies that are enacting these policies that lead to 195 billion in medical debt.
Yeah. Yeah.
Astronomical number.
Do you guys do anything directly, working, I don't know, with or lobbying against, I guess, or I don't know what the appropriate
How
term
many
would
enemies
be,
have you made?
the insurance companies is what I am getting at. Because even if you have insurance, we have learned that they deny just in batches, right? They just mass deny things. And people don't always know that you can appeal that, or they don't know how to appeal it. Do you do anything on that front too?
Yeah. So basically, I think our philosophy overall is that we actually want people to continue to engage in this conversation. I think making enemies is not a good approach to getting
No.
people to seriously talk about this issue. Honestly, I mean, how I see this problem is like hospitals also get beat up left and right, about medical debt,
Yeah.
right? And a
Mhm.
lot of times for good reason, as do insurance companies for good reason. But they're not on either side, they're not all bad actors either. The system has incentivized them to do exactly what they're both doing.
Right.
However, they are at odds with each other and they point fingers at each other. And then the patients, it's like this tug of war going on with the patient smack in the middle of it. And that's the problem that I see. So we go after both if it's appropriate, but we also don't go after both in an unreasonable way. We're thoughtful about, a lot of hospitals are trying to do the right thing. A lot of insurance companies are trying to do the right thing. A lot of them aren't. So when we see something that's problematic, we'll call it out. But at the
Mhm.
same time, we want to highlight good practices that are happening and try to have a reasonable conversation because, frankly, politically, they're both big lobbies. So if they don't get on board with something that wants to change, then it's not going to happen. I hate to say it, but that's the truth. Like it's really
Mm.
hard to get beyond the lobbying power that both hospitals and insurance companies have. So if we're going to see
Mhm.
progress, we need to make sure that we're moving them in a direction and being politically smart and strategic that gets them on board with changes. And that sometimes means taking time, but I think we can get there.
Agreed. Let's take a quick break and we'll be right back. Hey, Chris, you know what this is?
Stethoscope.
Yeah, it's not just any stethoscope. It's the Echo Core 500 digital stethoscope with 3-lead ECG.
That's pretty
I
fancy.
didn't even know they could do that. They've
No.
combined the ECG, the little
Yeah,
tracing
the
thing.
danger squiggles.
Yeah, the danger into a stethoscope.
That's pretty handy.
And it's also got 40 times noise amplification, noise cancellation, and also a fancy little display right here.
Oh, nice.
Yeah, it's so cool. And so honestly, if I had something like this in med school, like I would not have been yelled at by as many cardiologists as I
That would
was.
have been
Yeah,
nice.
it would have been
Mhm.
really nice. We have a special offer for our US listeners. Visit echohealth.com/KKH and use code KNOCK50 to experience Echo's Core 500 digital stethoscope technology. That's EKO Health/KKH and use KNOCK50 to get a 75-day risk-free trial and free case and free shipping with this exclusive offer. All right, we're back with Allison Sesso, President and CEO of RIP Medical Debt. We always ask for stories from our guests, and you have a couple of good ones. Now you've been in leadership positions, and there's an ongoing theme in humor in medicine. I've touched on it a lot, and a lot of people do and make fun of executives and kind of people in charge for some of the less than helpful solutions that they present for certain problems. And one of your stories you sent us highlights that to a T. So why don't you go ahead and tell us?
Yeah, I'm happy to, although it sort of brings back some crazy memories. But boy, so I was the deputy executive director, so right behind the executive director, and I was working at this association of nonprofit human service organizations in New York City, as I mentioned, and we were facing a budget fall. And this was a small organization, no more than 8 people, I think. And we were discussing in a meeting with the full team what we might do about that budget shortfall. And, we were actually talking pretty seriously because could have had furloughs in front of us, so people are
Mm.
having to actually lose money. And it was you could feel like the weight of the heaviness in the room. And the executive director like suddenly like snaps his fingers and you can almost like see the light bulb go off in his head. And he's like, I have a great idea. And so everyone's like, great, like, thank goodness. Right. So he begins to explain that he was just talking to this woman in his synagogue about these great kazoos she hand whittles and how we could have her whittle kazoos with our logo on them and sell them. And
Oh, what?
Oh
yeah,
man.
I was like, this like a bake sale, I was like, what?
So-
And like, I honestly thought I was gonna faint or like throw up. It was like terrible. And I just noticed that everyone in the room obviously was deflated and like, oh my, this is our
yeah.
leader. And so yeah, it shows you
Oh
like
boy.
leadership matters a
Yeah.
lot.
How is the hand carved kazoo market these
With the
days?
logo, no less. That
With the
really just like
it's
adds
just
insult to injury. Like
great.
everyone will want one of these things with our logo on it, right?
Oh
Right.
man.
Exactly. It was pretty I to this day I remember that moment and I was just like, what are you talking about? Yeah.
Oh
Well, that's
boy.
probably a good lesson for people that you experience something like you're like, okay, this is what not to do. Like whenever you're
Exactly.
in this position, probably helped you out down the road.
How many
Um,
kazoos do you have to sell to make one full-time
I
position, I
know,
wonder?
exactly. I was like, "What are we
yeah.
gonna become kazoo salesmen?" Yeah, and by the way, I'm a big fan of the kazoo too, but come
Yeah.
on.
And then you also have a story that really speaks to me as a self-proclaimed internet comedian ophthalmologist. And actually the history of RIP medical debt. John Oliver, he did a story. I think he did like an episode
Yes,
that
yes,
was
he
centered
did.
on medical debt,
Uh-huh.
and it probably raised your profile quite a bit. And it speaks to this idea of using humor to get your point across. And I know that's something that you have employed at times as well, right?
Exactly. I think humor is a really good tool for getting a serious point across. And John Oliver, I think, is exact example of how that's done well. So I was now the executive director of this kazoo same organization. So
Oh, it's
obviously
the
that
same
was a
group.
great
Okay.
same group, but I was
Got
the
it.
executive director now. Um,
Was that related to the kazoos
no, I
or
mean that. Yeah, we moved on. We moved
Yeah.
on. I think that was that's
that guy's
important.
not there
Believe
anymore, so now
No,
you're in charge?
exactly. Now I was in charge. Thank goodness. But so there's the same, association, and the vast majority of these nonprofits get their funding from government contracts, and the government contracts are not good. They underfund them by a long shot. And so our job was to represent them and point out all the inadequacies in the government contracts and funding. But this is a group that isn't a very powerful lobby in general, right? So it's kind of hard to get government's attention and be a priority. So I had this idea to tell this story using humor. And I said exactly what you said. I said, let's channel our inner John Olivers on this one. And we had this. So I actually interviewed a number of potential media supports, like to help us tell the story and write the script. And all of them thought I was crazy. And we're like, no, that's not going to work. Nonprofits don't do this. You're big risk. But I found this one group, Key Ideas, and they were like, totally got it. And we're like, yes, we would love to do this. Please hire us. So it was a match made. So we had like an owner of a made up pizza place be treated similarly to like a social services provider experience, like with government, how they treat them. And so a lot of people, were like, this is really not going to work. And then we decided to debut it even worse. I really raised the stakes at our event, like our fundraising event with like 300 people there, which was all the providers that get these crappy contracts, plus the government leaders like the commissioners, et cetera, like the
Wow.
deputy mayor for health and human services that give out and responsible for this. And we aired it. And it was a huge hit. People loved it. It's on YouTube. It's
Awesome.
called Everyone Deserves a Fair Slice. It's huge hit, and it led to policy change. The government actually started taking overhead rates, just the most boring topic in the world, to normal people, but really important to nonprofits, seriously, and made some policy changes that changed things. So, I think
Well,
you
that's
got to use
awesome.
Well
humor
done.
and take risks.
Yeah, absolutely. People, if you're listening, you got to understand, like, there's no laughter in the government, like, ever.
Right.
And so if you could just inject a little bit of humor and just make some people smile and laugh, oh, you'd have no idea how far that's going to go. So good on you for taking the leap of faith and putting that out there.
I think humor also is a really good vehicle for highlighting the absurdity of issues, of even serious issues where we can get caught up in just arguing about the details or the, bottom line or whatever, but just to be able to put it into a pizza place like that just really highlights how absurd it all is.
And we did a similar one. We did a similar one at RIP recently called The Collector, which does like a Netflix series on revenue cycle, folks. That I think is also
I watched that one.
Worth checking out. Yeah. So I keep using it. Thank you.
Very well done. All right. Well, let's get to our we're gonna play a game. It's called State of Debt. State of Debt. I just want to do this to just highlight, put it on maybe a little bit more personal level for people listening, the scope of this problem. So I'm going to switch between you, Allison, and Kristen. So Kristen, you'll go first. So this is a matching game.
Okay.
It's a matching game. So I'm going to give you 3 states and 3 numbers. Okay. The numbers are the percentage of individuals in a given state with medical debt collections on their credit file. Okay. Okay.
Like they currently owe money. Yeah. Okay.
That they have a medical debt collection in their credit file. So it's there, it's affecting them. Yeah. Okay. This is coming from, by the way, the 2022 U.S. Government's Consumer Financial Protection Bureau report. So this is like official stuff here. All right. So Kristen.
Ready.
All right. So, again, I'm just giving you these random 3 states and then the 3 percentages, and you tell me which state matches up with the percentage.
Okay.
Okay. So the 3 states, we have Louisiana, Minnesota, and Pennsylvania.
Okay.
Okay. The percentages, I'm going to round these off a little bit. Okay. 2%, 10%, 22%.
Okay.
2, 10, and 22.
I'm going to go Louisiana, 22, Pennsylvania, 10, Minnesota, 2.
Very good. You
got right?
it. That's correct.
Oh, wow.
I was going to do the same. That's great.
Yep. Very good. Yep. Minnesota is 2.25%. Pennsylvania is 10.4%. And Louisiana is 21.8% of people have medical debt in their credit file. That's a scary number.
That's not taking up the Medicaid expansion. That's what happens.
Oh, yeah. That makes sense. Mm-hmm. Yeah. Okay. All right. Allison. So your 3 states: South Dakota, West Virginia, Wyoming. Okay. Your percentages: 4%, 18%, 25%.
Okay. Woo.
South Dakota, West Virginia, Wyoming.
Let's see. Okay, I'm going to go West Virginia.
The stakes are high here.
I know. I don't know if I'm going to get this right. I'm going to go West Virginia 25, Wyoming 4, and South Dakota 18.
Actually, no. West Virginia you got right. South Dakota is at 4.4%. And Wyoming is at 18%.
Wow. Okay.
I'm noticing a Midwestern trend here.
Yes.
Yeah, Midwest is
granted, it's only an N of 2.
South Dakota's Midwest.
I would consider that Midwest-ish.
We might get some people that are angry at us for calling South Dakota Midwest.
Yeah.
I don't know. Maybe
Midwest
it is. Okay. All right. Yeah, I was surprised by that too. I guess I probably would have had it the way you had it, Allison.
Okay. That makes me feel better. Thanks.
Yeah. No, I'm just, I'm here to help. Okay. So round 3. Let's stick with Allison on this one, and then we'll have Kristen do round 4. So here are the 3 states: Maine, Oregon, and Texas.
Oh, Maine, I see why you gave this one to her.
Maine, Oregon, and Texas.
I've lived in 2 of those 3 states.
That's right. All right. The percentages are 21, 16, and 5.
Okay. Maine 5, Texas 21, and Oregon 16.
It's Oregon 5.
Ooh.
Maine 16. Texas 21. Yeah.
Wow. Interesting.
Yeah. Maine is higher than I thought it would be.
Me too.
Yeah.
Obviously.
But maybe maybe it's because it's a very, I guess, a large part of it's a rural area. Maybe that affects things. I'm not sure.
Do you see that in your work at all?
Well, no, because I was going to say, but it's a percentage of population, so that shouldn't.
Oh, I guess it wouldn't matter, right?
Yeah, it shouldn't matter.
Yeah.
I mean, honestly, it has a lot to do with policies. It also, frankly, has to do with whether or not the hospitals there actually report to credit agencies, which not all of them do.
Oh, really? Okay.
Yeah, so this is a particularly hard game.
Yeah.
This is challenging.
There's some selection bias in these
data. That's right. All right. Well, the last one. So, Kristen, Oklahoma, Pennsylvania, and South Dakota.
Well, I already know Pennsylvania.
Oklahoma. How do you know Pennsylvania?
Because that was in the other one.
You
was
gave
in the
it
first
before.
question.
Oh, did I already do that one?
No, it's just Pennsylvania was in there.
Oh, I put it. Oh, it's in there twice.
Yeah. Okay, but that's okay. Oklahoma, Pennsylvania.
Do you remember though what it was?
It was 10.
God. All right. So Oklahoma and South Dakota then. All right.
Oh, and South Dakota was in a different one.
Yeah, you did do that one.
I screwed this up.
That's all right. Okay, but I don't remember South Dakota. So give me the numbers. Oklahoma.
4, 10, and 21.
4, 10, and 21. Yeah. So 4 was South Dakota, 10 was Pennsylvania. So 21 is Oklahoma.
You got it. Yeah, Oklahoma is an average of $3,292 of medical debt.
So what's going on in the South?
I think it's the Medicaid expansion, right?
Yep, it's exactly right. Medicaid expansion.
Do you know a
is very
couple
clear.
Are there any other big factors like that really obviously contribute to this?
I mean, poverty rates, right? Like more people are poorer. I think also just in general, the hospital policies, if they have good financial assistance policies, a lot of places are increasingly focused on that and trying to get hospitals to have more robust financial assistance policies. And again, even the hospitals themselves or, other providers or even the debt collectors, like if they actually put it on people's credit reports or not. That has a lot to do with it.
Okay.
Well, thank you for playing State of Debt with us.
State of Debt.
All right, let's take one more break and then we'll be right back and finish up. Hey, Kristen, guess what I did?
What?
I cooked.
Whoa.
Yeah, real food too.
Hey, look at you.
I made Cajun chicken sandwiches with roasted potato wedges and this smoky secret sauce. It was super good.
You made that.
Well, I did get help. I used EveryPlate.
There it is.
Yeah, but they plan the meals. They deliver pre-portioned ingredients right to your door.
They do make it easy.
They do, and their meals are 50% cheaper than your average fast casual meals. It's super affordable.
Cheaper than other meal kits also.
Yeah, and with 26 tasty and affordable recipes that change every week, you always have something different you could cook. There's 15 minutes or less dinners, oven-free recipes, a ton of options.
I'm a big fan of not having to do as much work, but still getting a good result.
Yeah, and now you can get $1.49 per meal by going to everyplate.com/podcast and entering code 49KKH. Again, get started with EveryPlate for just $1.49 per meal by going to everyplate.com/podcast and enter code 49KKH. All right, we are back with Allison Sesso, President and CEO of RIP Medical Debt, and we are going to take a look at some of our favorite medical stories sent in by the listeners. All right, so we have a story today from Wanda. Wanda says, I was working in the recovery room in the late 1980s, which was adjacent to the operating room and preoperative areas. My friend Craig was a surgical tech and told me this gem of a story. The patients were brought down prior to surgery on their stretchers and put in the preoperative area. And at the time, they put a 3x5 card at the foot of the bed with instructions or information to get them ready for their surgery. This was the 1980s.
Yeah.
Index cards, 3x5 index cards at the foot of the bed.
Did they get them out of the card catalog,
I don't
maybe?
know. Craig approached a patient and said, Sir, I'm going to get you ready for your surgery, which is going to involve me shaving around your anal area. Difficult situation there. The patient agreed, and Craig did the shave prep. Then Craig realized that the patient was there for knee surgery. And the question in my mind has always been, what did that patient think we were going to do that needed us to shave his behind?
Really? Well, and why did they need to shave his behind?
There are some things that make you think, it's probably a good thing we moved to an electronic medical record, because I imagine someone probably wrote something very unintelligible on the card. I imagine that's probably what it was.
I was a little worried that someone getting anal surgery had their knee shaved.
Well, and did they charge them for that? That was my question.
Right?
I go right to like, what was the bill on that? Did you get charged on that?
Yeah, really.
That must be how you think about every single thing, right?
Like, did they actually send him a bill on that? Because that's not okay.
I have to imagine you probably asked for itemized receipts on all of your medical.
Do you know what I do? One of the things I do is like I actually when you're supposed to sign those forms and the doctor, I cross things out and then I just like hand it back to them, like where it says like basically you're responsible no matter what. I'm like, no, I'm not.
Yeah.
Oh man, we can cross things out on those
things? I didn't even know
that
was an option.
I don't know. I mean, honestly, the front desk people, like, what? I mean, I almost like I'm always like a little like, are they going to call me out? But they never do. They don't even look at it. They're busy.
See, these are the things I'm saying. Like, people don't know what their options are. I would never have even thought you could do that.
Recently, because now doctors' offices have these screens, and you have to like sign sometime. So there's like no option to do that. So then when it comes time to sign, I just write no, and then I submit, which they also don't check.
Like that's your signature.
Wow.
No.
So if it came back, I'd be like, I wrote no.
Yeah.
That's not my signature.
Is that my signature?
I did not agree to this.
I'm sure that would also hold up in the court of law as well.
Well, that's my question. I wonder if it would.
I have no idea.
Who knows, but I'm
you know
what?
Why not?
Doesn't hurt.
Yeah.
Doesn't hurt.
Yeah, I guess so.
Well, we're going to let you go, but because I'm sure you have you have a lot of debt to clear right now, so we're taking you away from that. But is there anything you want people to know about? Want our listeners to know? Obviously, RIP medical debt.
Yeah, I mean, obviously, donate to RIP medical debt. We really do need as much support as possible. We did just issue a 1 in 3 series that goes a little bit more in depth about the issue of medical debt. It's called Insurance Alone It's Not Enough, which you can find on our website. So that was in partnership with this great group, Neighborhood Family Trust. So if you're interested in these issues, I encourage you to. It's a very short issue brief. It's like 3 pages, something like that. That you can take a look at.
And I think RIP medical debt is also on social media, so you can
Instagram,
check them out there.
Yep, Facebook. Yep. What's it called now? Not Twitter.
X.
X.
And you are also on X at Allison Sesso. And so thank you again for the work you're doing and the organization is doing, because it's like, think of how many lives have been impacted by what you're doing. It really is. I can't wrap my head around, 195 billion, much less 9 billion. Like that's just an enormous number.
Over 7 million people have gotten letters from us, so it's good.
7 million people.
That's amazing. So people want to help you, they can donate, they can share, check out your website, anything else they can do, lobbying assistance, anything like that.
Tell stories, right? Tell their stories.
Talk about your issues of medical debt, or your, even if it's not debt, the fact that you had to pay some ridiculous high amount of money and what you weren't able to do because of that.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Good advice. Well, thanks again for joining us.
Thanks for having me.
Well, I feel like I understand a little bit more about medical debt.
Yes, I had no idea that there was all of these
scope of
things
the problem
involved. Yeah.
It's unbelievable.
Whole market.
Yeah. And God, what an awesome organization.
I know.
It's a brilliant idea.
Yeah.
Just like taking the system that's already there.
Right.
But just turning it around instead of using it for good instead of evil. Instead of trying to rake people over the coals for just getting medical care. They're just taking that debt and buying and like paying it off.
Yeah.
And
so everybody, if you're able to, please consider donating, because that's how they are able to do that.
$1 for $1 donation.
Yep. It wipes out $100 of medical debt for someone.
$100. That's awesome.
I guess that gives you a little insight into the markups that are happening.
Yeah, that's like 2 units of insulin. I don't know. I have no idea, but probably. Anyway, it's just a great thing that they're doing. So, and thank you for the stories as well. And let us know what you thought of the episode. And we try not to do too many depressing topics. We've done a few in a row here.
Yeah, I know.
And so maybe at some point we'll get back to there's really not a lot of lighthearted things about the U.S. healthcare system these days, but we'll do our best to not become too depressing.
Well, you have to laugh so you don't cry. So
it's a big part of it.
Yeah.
Well, let us know what you think, or if you have any ideas of topics we could touch on, or any specialties you want to hear about, or any guests. We'd like to hear about those too. Lots of ways to hit us up. Email us, knockknockhigh@human-content.com. We're on all the social media platforms. Just go to one and search us up.
Just make sure you're finding the real one. There are some imposters out there, so watch out for those.
There are some imposters.
Yeah.
Then you can also hang out with our Human Content Podcast family on Instagram and TikTok at Human Content Pods. They got some great podcasts these days.
Yeah, they really do.
Also, thanks to all the wonderful listeners leaving feedback, specifically the positive feedback. We like that more than any of the other types of feedback.
We will accept constructive criticism. We like
That's
that
fine.
too.
We'll
sure.
accept that
it helps
too.
us improve. We just don't like insults.
The insults make us feel bad, and we don't want to feel bad. If you subscribe and comment on your favorite podcasting app or on YouTube, we can give you a shout out. Like Undercover KC on Apple said, "Thanks for the beautiful Dr. Mike Natter interview.
Yeah.
I just finished watching it. I am a fan of Dr. G, the ophthalmologist, who is just one of the most inspiring doctors. Dr. Natter sounds like a really great doctor. I'm very grateful for all the doctors that help us today. I am trying to become a surgeon, a female Somali Muslim, so I am very determined to be it. Thanks, docs. Well, good luck to you. I hope that you achieve your dreams, and thank you for those kind words. It's very, very thoughtful. We also have episodes of this podcast up on my YouTube channel every week at Glaucomflecken. We also have a Patreon. Lots of cool perks, bonus episodes where we react to medical shows and movies. We have a nice little community, a little growing community. We're huge. We're active in it. We're there.
You're huge. You're very tall.
Physically, I am. I'm quite tall. Lanky. It's all limbs. Anyway, I don't know where I'm going with this. We have early ad-free episode access on Patreon, interactive Q&A live stream events, more of me talking about how dangly my limbs are.
Did you have some Baileys in your coffee this morning? What's going on here?
No, I'm just feeling good. I don't know. Patreon.com/Glaucomflecken, or go to Glaucomflecken.com. Speaking of Patreon community perks, new member shout out to Jimmy W. Hi, Jimmy.
Hello, Jimmy W.
Welcome, Jimmy. And shout out to all the Jonathans, as always. Patrick Lucia C, Sharon S, Omar, Edward K, Stephen G, Ross Box, Jonathan F, Marion W, Mr. Granddaddy, Caitlin C, Brianna L, Dr. J, Chaver W, Jonathan A, Leah D, KL, Rachel L, and Ann P. A virtual head nod to you all. Patreon Roulette, random shout out to someone on the emergency medicine tier. Shout out to, I should say it as the emergency medicine. The emergency medicine doctor kind of talks like this. He's kind of like Kronk from Emperor's New Groove. Remember Kronk?
Wow, that is a deep cut.
Yeah, that's how he kind of talks.
Yeah.
Shout out to Jessica H for being a emergency medicine patron.
And to Kronk.
And a Kronk. Thanks for listening. We are your hosts, Will and Kristen Flannery, also known as the Glaucomfleckens. Special thanks to our guest today, Allison Sesso. Our executive producers are Will Flannery, Kristen Flannery, Aaron Corney, Rob Goldman, and Shanti Brook. Our editor and engineer, sorry, Rob. Editor and engineer is Jason Portizzo. Our music is by Omer Bensvi. To learn about Knock Knock High's program disclaimer and ethics policy, submission verification, licensing terms, and HIPAA release terms, you can go to Glaucomflecken.com. Does anybody... If you've gone to Glaucomflecken.com to read
those out,
let us know. We want to know all about you and your life and the things you decide to do with it. Reach out to us at knockknockhigh@human-content.com with any questions, concerns, or fun medical puns if you have to. Knock Knock High is a Human Content production.
Knock, knock, goodbye.
Thanks for watching the episode. You can find more on that playlist over there. If you prefer to listen, or you just had your eyes dilated, you can binge full episodes wherever you get your podcasts. Or join the party over on Patreon, where you get early access episodes, hang out with us, get lots of exclusive bonus content. Hope you subscribe, leave a comment below. Let us know what you think.